Welcome to Amazon Legends, where we have real stories about making it big on Amazon. Our guests are CEOs of large companies and entrepreneurs who became power sellers, also providers specializing in helping sellers, aggregators that acquire sellers, and former Amazonians will give us an insight from behind the scenes. Here is your host, Nick Urison.
Welcome to another episode of Amazon Legends. And my next guest today worked as chief of staff at a company that almost all Amazon sellers are very familiar with, and that's Jungle Scout. And she spent 6 years at Jungle Scout as probably the person who makes things happen. Chief of staff usually does. Today, she's the founder and CEO of Fluencer Fruit Connect, which is a UGC agency which bridges the gap between user-generated content on Amazon with Amazon sellers. So this is a very hot topic, and Amazon is pushing user-generated content heavily, and it carries a lot of weight when shoppers are making their decisions on the purchase. When she's not working, as if she's not carrying enough pressure as a business owner, she also lifts weights, and it's 2 hours a day and 4 days a week, and also paddleboard when she's in Miami. So with that, everybody, meet my guest, Liz Saunders. Welcome to the show, Liz.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
I'm dying to hear about user-generated content, because we have influencers. Of course, influencers always play a big role, and it's a cost-effective way to generate content, but more important, drive traffic. But user-generated content is a whole different subject. So what is your approach on handling user-generated content?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that is most interesting about our conversation is that the user-generated content, being able to get it on your Amazon listing, right? So when we talk about UGC or user-generated content, a lot of times people go directly to thinking about their Instagram influencers or TikTok content creators. But the approach that you and I are going to talk about is how to get user-generated content onto an Amazon product listing. And it's one of the most under-tapped capabilities for brand registered brands that there is in the Amazon space.
Okay, so you're not talking about you getting a video of somebody talking about your product and uploading it to Amazon yourself. You're talking about shoppers going to your listing and then providing their own feedback.
Yeah, but yes, it's customers, but it's specifically content creators who are approved for this specific program called Amazon Influencer. So it will be different when you're looking at a product listing. You have customer review videos, but then you have Amazon Influencer reviews as well. And that's the UGC that you and I are talking about.
So that is the second part of what you are focused on, because these are almost like the Vine program to collect reviews. So you go register for a Vine program, and then Amazon will deliver approved reviewers to go purchase your product at no cost and then post the review. This is also similar to that. There's a program called the Amazon Influencer Program, who has all these people that create that content, and that's what you're referring to, right?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So that means that we have to talk about the content, how to use it, but also the influencer program, right?
Yeah. There's two parts to it, right?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Great. This is definitely a very useful knowledge for every seller to really have. And then, of course, things don't happen. There's all kinds of, I'm sure, the mechanics of it. Okay. All right. So I'm glad to have you. So just for my listeners, I'll just set up the conversation. I am very big with getting into implementing an idea so that my listeners can go implement right
Yeah.
after hearing it and then see the impact. So this is going to be one of those episodes where we're going to dive into all the moving parts of leveraging UGC by understanding better how the Amazon Influencer Program works and all the moving parts. And then also we'll get into measuring the success of this. How do you measure? So we're going to cover it all. So with that, let's jump right in. So first, describe to us. So we've got the product detail page. So where does this UGC appear? Is it just PDP or does it also appear in other places?
Yeah, so the primary place where we have the most measurable results from is at the very top of the product listing in that main image carousel. And I want to give two call outs for your sellers. You have to be brand registered, and you, the brand, have to have uploaded a product video in order to basically unlock this upper carousel for the videos. But in the main image carousel, then if you've uploaded that product video, it basically unlocks a video carousel. And you, the brand, as well as content creators who are approved for on-site placement, can get places in that upper carousel. It usually has between 6 and 10 videos in it. Amazon's playing with some stuff. Sometimes you get up to 14, but 6 is kind of the magic standard.
Okay, so this is just like uploading your images. You also have the videos. I have one question. Uploading images for me is I never really upload them manually, but I put them in the feed. So turn them into URLs and then submit the URL. So is it possible to do the same for videos instead of uploading? Can you submit URLs?
That's a good question. I don't actually know the answer to that. I don't spend a ton of time in the back end of Seller Central. But I do know, when you edit a listing, if you were doing it manually, it's not going to be in that images carousel on that edit page. It has to be through the menu on the upper left side there where you drop down and manage things. That's where you can do the video. I'm not sure about the file and the URL
Yeah,
uploads.
Yeah, I mean, I thought maybe you may have heard, but that it doesn't exist. So this is under, I believe, you have to be brand registered.
Yes.
Unless you're brand registered, this is not available. There is actually in the menu a menu option called Manage Videos.
Yes.
Or upload and manage videos. You have to go there separately. It's not even
Yep.
part of the listing. So if you are
Correct.
creating a listing, you can't do anything there. You can upload images when you're creating listing, but videos, no, that's a separate place.
Yep.
Okay, and the other thing, so this is not UGC. This is just your own videos that you created or you got somebody to create and then you're uploading. Okay, so how is UGC related to that capability?
So the UGC relates because as the brand registered brand, when you upload your product video, it unlocks that upper video carousel on your product listing. Now, the other places that you'll see the Amazon influencer content, the UGC, is there's a lower carousel. So it's like halfway down your product page. It's also eligible for the Inspire feed or the Discover feed. And sometimes we show up in search results, which is always a fun experiment when Amazon runs that.
So, okay. Now there is something that I noticed. First of all, there is also where the video appears in terms of the device you are using. For example, if you upload multiple videos yourself as a seller, and you look at it on the desktop, it only shows one of them at the top.
Yes.
The others, it shows at the bottom where you have all the videos. But for mobile, it's a different look, right? On mobile, it looks a little bit different. So again, something, and this may also be category dependent. I'm not sure if it's the same on every category, but those are things that I noticed. Is that your experience as well?
Yeah. So for example, the fashion category does not have an upper carousel to unlock. So it doesn't matter how you set up your product listing, if you are categorized in fashion, you will not have an upper carousel. You'll still have the lower carousel, like halfway down your page on desktop, but not the upper one. And then to your point about mobile, there's actually like 3 different places on mobile where the UGC videos may show up. One of them is in that upper carousel, but you have to click the video and then it brings up a pop-up and then you scroll down and they're there, or halfway down or all the way down the page. So mobile is a little bit more mixed and it's not currently by category. It's just kind of like hit or miss. So on fashion, on mobile, they actually do have the upper carousel. You just have to click into it. But on desktop, you don't have an upper carousel on fashion. So maybe at some point Amazon will make it all standard, but for right now, it's a little bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah. So, but I want to repeat something you said. It's a very fine point. So you have to be brand registered, and that's not enough. You also have to upload a video
Yes.
in order to unlock that capability.
Yes.
So that means that if you haven't uploaded a video yourself, doesn't matter what, the influencer program participants won't be able to upload a video for you either, right?
They will. You just won't have the upper carousel. You'll still have the lower carousel. They can still tag you. It's just that upper carousel is the place that we see the best conversion rates with.
Okay, so upper carousel converts better.
Mhm.
Okay, what is the ideal length of a video in terms of conversion? Do you have any experience with that, testing different lengths?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. There's 2 types of videos that Amazon asks for from the content creators. One is vertical shorts. That's between 6 seconds and 30 seconds. Vertical, usually like a TikTok style. Amazon made me buy it. Top 10 things for my car, like that kind of like really quick. And then they've got like 10 items tagged in that video. So that's one type. Those, quite honestly, don't convert super well at the moment just because Amazon's not set up yet for that type of like social shopping, but they're there. The other type of content is more like long form. So I would consider this like a standard horizontal talking head, B-roll over here, like talking about a product. Anecdotally, my videos that convert the best in that style are between 3 and 5 minutes, which seems incredibly long, in my opinion, for an on-page UGC video. But I will say that when you pair it with a product that's a little bit more expensive, people tend to watch because they are considering how to invest their money, right? So we don't have any real solid data around conversion rates, and we can't really A/B test like video length, but my longer ones tend to be the ones that do relatively well.
Yeah, I mean, the price point of the product is also important. I mean, something is gonna cost $10, $15, you don't care. But I mean, I myself bought a little appliance the other day. It was $79.95, and I
Yep.
watched the video 2, 3 times because I was
Yeah.
trying to see. So
Yeah. But that's
yeah,
that's the reason they're there, right? Because the content creator, somebody who's using your product or the product you're thinking about, they can answer those questions. Like they're using it. I recently did this little crochet kit. It was my first time crocheting. So I just sat down and answered a bunch of questions off the product listing that people were asking about this particular kit. I mean, it's such a cool thing that Amazon's allowing on the product listings. But yeah, the price point, I find like that $80 to $100 range is about the part where you start to see people make the tipping point. They're going to watch that content because they want to know how they're going to invest that money into a product and they want to pick the right one.
okay. The other thing that I want to get your opinion on is the quality of the video. What I'm talking about is it okay for you as the seller uploading a promo video
Yeah.
to record it with your iPhone or whatever, and then just whip up something all by yourself and then upload it? Or is it better to have something professionally produced? Which one do you think is a better one?
I actually, so for the seller side, like if you, the brand, are uploading one, my personal preference is that you do something in between those two things. I don't think you need to go spend a couple $1,000s on like a professionally produced sizzle reel, but I also think you probably need to do a little bit more than like a shot on your phone. So maybe find that middle ground for your product videos. The hack that I will give you is, as the brand, if you have multiple products listed, you don't have to create an individual video for each product. You can actually create a brand video and make that your product video for each of your listings. And that way you're not spending a bunch of money trying to create for every variation, every, whatever the case is. So you can do that. But my preference is maybe pick something in between those two kind of extremes there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's first of all, I always say, do not do one of those quick jobs with your phone and then try, because I say, imagine that you've been given a spot in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Do you really produce something with your iPhone? No, it's going to go to a lot of people. So, and also how you're going to come across as a serious seller versus someone who's just doing. So the first impressions last. So that's why I say be careful, make sure, but don't go spending a lot of money. And the other thing that I say is that video, promo video that you're gonna have, it could be 90 seconds to I don't know, maybe 2 minutes. You can have it repurposed and then use it for your sponsored brand video ads.
Yep.
Shorter version of it, like cut it down to like 20 to 30 seconds and then use it in your. So spending a little bit of money is a good idea. It will pay off. But just doing it on the cheap is not gonna come across well. However, tell me what you think. Any other video, like unboxing video and things like that, that's a different story. Then you don't want those, right? Do you agree?
So actually, I think it's interesting because for the brands, yes, you want to present yourself as professional, you want high quality. For the UGC coming from Amazon influencers, you almost want it to not be overproduced. You want it to be me sitting at my desk talking about this cute little frog that I crocheted, because it comes across as more authentic, right? And when the customers are looking at it, they're looking to you, to the brand, to be the professional, talk about your brand story, talk about the facts of the product, how you developed it, whatever you want to tell in that video. But for the UGC, you actually want the content creators to be a little bit on the rougher side, right? Like you want them to be shooting on their phone. You want them to be sitting at their desk. You always want them to have good audio, always. But everything else, like as long as it comes across as that like authentic user experience, it's almost like the total opposite of what you want the brand video to be.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, you know how it is. The world is all becoming virtual. So shopping is something that unfortunately does not really fit well into that virtual interaction because it's a touch and feel. You're buying a product. So how do you come as close to touching and feeling the product? And of course, that's the video. So I kind of thought of this scenario. Let's say that you go into a specialty store and that does customization of different products or whatever. And you've got the product in the window, you say, okay, I'm interested in this, and they bring it out. And then you start asking questions. Okay, how do you do this? How do you do that? And then if somebody says, okay, let me bring out our, expert who does this all day, every day. So he'll tell you more. And then the guy comes out of the workshop. He looks, all shabby clothes, dirty, and his hands are dirty. But you don't care, do you? It's actually more authentic. And you appreciate. You listen, and then you say, "How do you do this?" And then he starts explaining to you. That is the kind of experience you are delivering with a video like that, right? So you want it to be. Okay, so that's the idea. So I mean, in this conversation, we are almost setting the expectations that sellers should have. Because so if a UGC video looks too fancy, too produced, then that's really not going to get the best results, right?
I mean, it kind of depends. I don't want to say never, right? Because if you're proactively working with a content creator and they have really high production value, I would still probably be like, yeah, sure, that's a good, especially if you can repurpose it off of Amazon, especially honestly, if you're in a tech category. So those consumers do expect a little bit higher. So like the guys that are putting together the computers, if they're talking about microphones, they're talking about screens, lighting, that kind of stuff, people expect their production value to be much higher. If you get outside of that, I mean, like it still translates well, but I think there's a little bit of authenticity that's maybe lost a little bit when you get too far out into the production. So I wouldn't say never, but I would say gauge your audience and who the people are, not your target audience that you are marketing to. That's different. The people who are buying your product, because one of the things I find is sometimes brands want to market to their target audience and it's a little bit more produced high value off site. Whereas like I know like the people buying their product are probably not 100% aligned with who they're seeing when they're putting those marketing dollars behind the paid spend.
Okay. A couple of things you said also, I think very important, and I'll add one other thing to it. So you mentioned audio
Mhm.
and lighting. So it has to be crisp audio because if people cannot hear, then they're gonna just skip. And the other thing is the video quality in terms of lighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lighting is so you don't want it to be too dark and it doesn't. So make sure you have enough lighting when the video is shot and also the audio. And the other thing is close-ups
Yep.
because some of the things, like for example, you mentioned text stuff, so you have a lot of buttons and knobs and things like that, and then you want to see the setting of it, and then so that's where you may have close-up. So those are things, because at the end of the day, this is all gonna represent you, and you want to make sure. Okay, cool. So that's the UGC that
Yep.
others. So let's talk about the Amazon Influencer Program, because at the
Yep.
end of the day, this is a program administered by Amazon. So I'm sure they have their own vetting process,
Yes.
and however they want these influencers to work, and then ultimately, they are the ones producing. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So I think the most interesting thing about the Amazon influencer program is it's one of the only parts in the Amazon ecosystem where it's like a win 4 different ways. So it's a win for the influencer, the content creator, because they get a small commission if you interact with their content and then make a buying decision. It's a win for the seller because it's helping their conversion rate. It's putting UGC on their product listing, so they're selling more. It's a win for Amazon because the sales are better. And it's a win for the buyer. Amazon's like stated purpose for the program is to help buyers make more confident buying decisions. So it's also helping the shopper, right? And so it's this unique overlap of kind of like every portion of the Amazon ecosystem. Um, so that's kind of like the part that I think is the coolest.
So how does a seller participate in this?
Yeah, so there's a couple ways. The first way is, well, the first thing that you as a seller want to do is make sure that your product listing is set up well. And that's going to be your normal optimization, all the things that you as a seller have already done. You're brand registered, you've worked on all of your A+ content, all of those things. But the number one thing is to upload that product video so that you unlock that upper carousel. Influencers are doing similar product research to the way that sellers, when they're first picking out their products, influencers are looking for, is there an upper carousel? How many other influencers are on there, right? All of those things that impact how well their videos are seen and how well it converts for them. So as a seller, the first thing that you'll do if you want to work with Amazon influencers for that content is make sure your listing is set up. The second thing is once that happens, there's a chance that you will just organically be attracting content creators, right? Especially if you've got good sales, good ratings, all of those things. If you are a seller listening right now and you haven't already seen this, go check your listing. There's a possibility there are already influencers there. And then kind of the last way is proactively. You can go and actually reach out to content creators in the program, and we can talk a little bit about how to do that. But you can talk to them proactively and ask them if they will create content for on-site, which is how it's said in the program. Amazon influencers are FTC compliant, they're terms of service compliant. And there's two differences from the Vine program that I think are important to draw out. One is they cannot leave you a written review. So you can't even include that in your conversation because we get products more often than not sent to us because we're creating content that we earn commission on. We're not allowed to leave like written or starred reviews, just Amazon doesn't like it. But then you can also, their terms of service compliant. So unlike Vine reviewers, where it's that black box, they just send out your product and they're not required to write the review, but they can write the review and you can't ever contact them if they misunderstood how to use your product. Like none of that restriction exists in the influencer space. So you can talk to them, you can email them, you can talk, like all those things that you wish you could do with the Vine reviewers, you're actually terms of service allowed to do with an Amazon influencer.
So as far as these influencers, their motivation is, I mean, other than the fact that they love this kind of stuff, they make money, right?
Correct.
That's the main motivation. And who pays them? Amazon or the seller?
Amazon.
So
Yeah.
it's nothing to do with you.
Nope. And actually, Amazon handles all of the placement. So if I upload this video about my cute little frog, I'm going to tag this crochet kit. And then Amazon is actually going to say, yep, we want that on the product listing. We want it in a search result. We want it on the Inspire feed. Like they manage all of that. But then, you know, every seller, when you are looking at your fees, you come across that referral fee, right? You pay that for every sale that you make. Affiliate and influencer commission come out of your referral fees. So it's not anything additional that the seller is paying to anybody. And so this a lot of times is happening on product listings and people don't even know because there's no increase or change in your expenses. Like if you look at Simple Modern Water Bottle as an example, their listings are filled with influencers, but their cost per sale hasn't gone up. They're not, it's just everybody likes their product. They do a ton of sales, so people want to be on that product listing.
So this is that generally it's 15%. You pay Amazon 15%. So this comes out of that 15%. You don't have to worry about anything because usually when you recruit influencers, you're cutting your own deal, right? Some of them want upfront. This is purely performance based. So how does Amazon connect the dots? In other words, making the purchase to the influencers. I mean, yeah, whoever created that UGC. So only sales coming out of that UGC, that's what the influencer gets paid on, right?
Correct. Yep. So it's like having, it is an offshoot of the affiliate program. So we also have an ID for our on-site content. And so if you click into one of my videos, it cookies it as you watched my content. And then when you buy, it attributes that sale to me.
Okay. Talk about attributing the sale. Do you have an idea on the attribution?
Oh, we wish Amazon told us. We don't know. Most of us that I've talked to, most of us believe that it's last touch attribution. And so if there's a list of 5 influencer videos and you watch all 5, what we think happens is that the last one you watch gets the sale. The thought process being that that was the one that made you press the buy button. But if we're really honest, Amazon hasn't told us, so we're just basically guessing.
And how many days?
Oh, it's instant, basically. There's not a cookie attached to it as far as we know.
So I watch your video. So there's 5 influencers as you put, and then I watch the 5th influencer's video and I add it to my cart, but I don't complete the purchase. It sits in my cart for a week. I'm busy. and doing things. And then one day I need to buy something and I go back to Amazon and it's in my cart and I check out and buy it then. By that time, a week has gone. So do you still get the credit or not?
We don't know.
You don't know.
They don't
Okay.
tell us. So in the affiliate program, if you're pushing traffic from offsite, you get a 24-hour cookie.
Yeah.
So it would be everything in your cart for 24 hours. The influencers only get the commission off of that exact item, or what I call an arm's length. It's like if you're looking at one crochet kit, you watch my video and then you go buy another one, I get that commission instead. But I only get one item, and I don't think we have a cookie. Like, I'm not sure if it requires that you put it in your cart and then we get it whenever, or you have to actually buy in that same session. They just haven't told us what that looks like.
I have a question for my listeners. Are you experiencing cash flow challenges with your Amazon business? Well, silly question. Who is not, right? So let me introduce you to Viably, a unique solution tailored for Amazon sellers and e-commerce enterprises. By connecting your Seller Central or Shopify account, you can promptly access funding along with a variety of financial tools, all for a flat fee. It's as simple as that. And for my listeners, they are offering an extra $1,500 in funding for eligible applications. Start your quick and easy application today at runviably.com/legends. And that's runviably.com/legends. Okay. So I have so many questions on the tracking and reporting and to get a sense of what is generating, because ultimately that's what we want to know. But before I go there, I want to get a little bit more on the influencer program. So there is no enrolling, so to speak. This is you automatically qualify, and then at that point you can reach out to these influencers within the Amazon influencer program and ask them to try to get them to generate content for you. So can you tell us where that is within Seller Central?
Yeah, so it's not within Seller. I don't know if Creator Connections is within Seller Central. There's really three ways that you can reach out to influencers. One is, first, when you're looking at content, it has a username. So like my username is Liz on a Journey. And underneath that, it says earns commission. That's how you know that they are an Amazon influencer. It says earns commission under their name wherever they show up. So if you find their name, you can actually click on them, go to their storefront, and Amazon lets us link to our social profiles. So like on mine, you can find my Instagram account. So you can find them and go reach out to them off-site is what I would do. There's not a way through the storefront to just like email them or anything like that.
Okay.
The other way is Creator Connections. And that is Amazon's platform. It's for both offsite and on-site content creators within the Amazon ecosystem. And you can post a campaign there if you're in the program. So Creator Connections is invite only for brands and for content creators at the moment. So if you're in that program, you can do it there. Or you can use someone like myself, a third party, who you're like, I don't want to do any of that. I hear you, but you just want somebody to be like, here are influencers who will match and they're already approved for on-site and all those things. You can use an agency like myself. So those are the three ways.
Okay. So an agency can connect you with a bunch of creators, or you can go and see these individual creators with their signature and then reach out, or you get invited by Amazon into creator connections.
Yep.
When it's invite, of course, you have no idea when it's going to happen, right?
No, but if you're a seller and you're wondering, I would search your email for Creator Connections, whatever one is attached to your Seller Central, because we get, I mean, how many emails a day do you get from Amazon? And if you sell on multiple geos, like you're getting so many emails. So it's possible you're in the program and didn't know. If you don't find a Creator Connections email, I would go into Seller Central support and file a ticket and ask if you can get put into it. We've had it happen on the influencer side where people will be like, hey, I didn't get an invite. Can I get into creator connections on the influencer side? And they'll be like, yes, and put them in. Doesn't always work, but it's worth trying.
Okay. So once you get into creator connections, is there like a directory or it, where you can search just like they have in IP Accelerator, you can search law firms. Do you have something like that?
No, you just have to post a campaign and then content creators come to you.
I
So
see.
in the campaign, you put together all the things, if it's a brand awareness campaign or whatever the case is, if you're offering free samples, what the extra percentage commission that you are giving the creators for sales, like all of that. And then on the influencer side, we actually do have a list where we can scroll which brands have campaigns in content or in creator connections, and we can message you. Once an influencer messages you, and some of this I'm iffy on because I don't operate on the seller side very often, but once we message you, you can always message us back through creator connection. So once they've joined your campaign, I think you have like at least their name and can see like, oh, they joined the campaign.
I see. So short of finding those influencers yourself by looking at their signature, there is no way for you to like mass approach a bunch of you have to create that campaign and then let the influencers reach out to you to say they want to work with you. So you mentioned something else where paying extra commission.
Mhm.
So how does that work? Because if Amazon is paying these influencers,
Mhm.
that's obviously based on some tracking that they build, so they know exactly. But in your case, where you're making the deal directly, so how does that get handled in terms of its mechanics?
Yeah. So in creator connections, you have to submit the content so that they can connect it to the campaign with your ID. But you have to upload specifically like a link to the video that you created for that campaign. Like that's how they connect on that end. On my end, if I match you with an influencer, I actually do flat fees placements because the tracking is so hard. Um, Amazon just doesn't provide us with on-site links. So like if you're doing one of the brand referral bonus off-site agencies right now, right? You can track all of that because you're using your brand attribution link with specific campaigns that you can track on your own. And then you know how much extra to pay a content creator. On site, we don't have that type. So I just charge basically like a one-time flat fee. It's evergreen content and you don't have to worry about ongoing fees.
So that would be so if sellers are looking to make their own deals with these influencers within the Amazon influencer program, what I'm hearing is cut your deal as a flat fee and then
I
let
would.
them go to work. So I want to clarify who is uploading. You referring to the seller or the
Mm.
creator?
The creator uploads it.
Okay, so that means that you approach the creator, say, "I can you do a video for me?" And then they do it, and then they upload it to the campaign, and that is basically the arrangement in terms of paying them. Okay, so thank you
Yeah.
very much. And then if you make a deal where they do this on regular basis, I guess it's all, but there's no tracking involved. That's what I'm hearing. Okay.
No, we do with the agency, we track views. So like at the 3 month mark, we'll send a seller number of views each video got, number of helpful votes or hearts that the video got. And we are very limited on what we can share per Amazon terms of service, but we're allowed to share sales of your specific product with you. So those are basically like the three pieces of information that we're allowed to share back. What we don't have is like conversion rates or,
Yeah.
you know, uh, basically anything else that you could desire. Our reporting is still pretty rudimentary.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, look, you can only report the available data.
Yeah.
So if data is not available, there isn't much you can do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, meaning Amazon, what Amazon gives us is relatively rudimentary.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have a feeling that they will make the data available, but right now, I think my take, this whole, as you know, there's so many changes going
Yep.
on with Amazon. Uh, I think since Jeff Bezos stepped down
Mm,
and the former AWS CEO stepped in,
mm,
they opened up so much data access. And we are seeing, for example, for advertising, they have the version 3, version 4 of the API, and what was available in version 3 is not no longer available in version 4.
right.
And for attribution, there is attribution API. And then for this, there is another API. So I have a feeling that for the creator program, they're going to have a separate API. I don't know, I'm just guessing, but it sounds to me like it's not something that's going to blend into what's already there in
Yeah.
advertising. There is this selling partner API, SP API. I don't see that because that's usually inventory, finance, and things like that.
Yeah.
Attribution alone has its own API. So they may include maybe in that, I don't know, we'll see. So I guess we are in the early stages of this,
Yep.
which really brings me to the next part, is the rest of the stuff, all the moving parts. So
Yes.
you are a brand registered seller. You
Yep.
now understand. Anybody listening to this already, they are ahead in terms of all the pieces of
Yeah.
the puzzles. So the first thing they have to do is upload at least one product video. Now they are in, and now they can be on the lookout for those influencers.
Yep.
They know to reach out. So can you give us some tips on how to pick because if you have two influencers and you want, I mean, you can work with both, but who is a good candidate as an
Mm.
influencer? So what is the best way to pick them?
It really comes down to what you're looking for. And so when I say that, I mean, you want somebody who is going to be the same vibe as your brand, right? So it doesn't have to be somebody who only creates content in your niche, right? Like if you're looking for a content creator on Instagram or on TikTok, you want their audience to be niched, right, around your product type category. When you look at on-site creators, because people won't find you through them, right? They're going to find the content creator on your listing. So they don't have to have a niche. They can talk about anything. That's really like opens up kind of the world to sellers because you can pick somebody who you like regardless of what they've talked about in the past. So if you feel like their content is good, that they have like a feeling of like somebody watching would buy from them, they create content that you feel like is compelling, that's where I would look. The other thing is when you have a conversation, again, because of all those things, since you're not looking for a niched content creator, you can pick somebody who you like when you talk to them. Like pick somebody who's responsive, pick somebody who you do like maybe one with before you really invest. Make sure that they are timely, make sure that they are returning your emails, make sure that when you send them something, they're turning it around, they're setting expectations. Like when we send products to influencers in the agency, we give them 4 weeks from the time they receive it to the time they upload. So make sure you're having those types of like conversations. If it's something that you need to have like content on this week, make sure they know that, but so that you can have all those things. So I would say you like their content, you like their vibe, you like working with them.
Okay. All right. I mean, this is important. There's one other thing that I want to emphasize here. Yeah, unlike the Vine program, where
Mhm.
complete hands-off situation and you don't even get to speak to them or anything like that, Creator Connection program is all about relationship. So
Yep.
you feel free, don't be shy, feel free and go out and do things. So chemistry, of course, you want to make sure that you enjoy working with the person. But another thing that I picked up, and this is very interesting. So you split this because these creators can give you UGC to use on your Amazon listing or outside Amazon, right? So it can happen for both. So you call them off-site and on-site.
Mhm.
So I've had a few influencers on the show
Mm.
And pretty much all of them have the same point in common. Find someone who has a passion for your product.
Mm.
So what you are saying is for offsite content creation, yes,
Yes.
that is the criteria. But for on-site, it doesn't matter because they've already found the product. Now they are validating the authenticity of the use from someone who is not just promoting it, someone who just, okay, so that's a very important point. Yeah, I didn't actually think about that. That's very
Yeah.
valuable. So just make sure. So when you are picking, what about things like ratings and things like that? Do they have for these influencers?
No, there's no centralized place where you can just go look and then like see how they're rated.
No, no, even on the name itself. Like for example, is this or has done so many of these? Like something
Nope.
that indicates this influencer is.
On the storefront, there's a search bar and it will tell you how many videos or how many posts they have. I actually don't put a ton of stock in that. Like, I mean, somebody can have 4,000 videos and they have basically spammed the system. Sometimes people will create 30-second videos and they'll upload it 4 times and tag different products. And it's not,
Wow,
they're not doing like great content. And then you'll have somebody with 600 videos and they're doing like really high end, very like well produced, thoughtful content for your product listing. So that's the only metric that you can see on our storefront is how many posts we have. But I would take that with a grain of salt. If they have 4,000 great videos, you can see all of them on the storefront. You'll be able to tell. If they have like multiples right in a row that are the same exact length, that look the same and you click in and they're different products, I'd probably stay away from that content creator. They're trying to create volume and kind of game the system. And I don't think Amazon will let that stay around much longer. Amazon is in the seller space. We have those sweeps where they'll just come through and like wipe out like written reviews or fill in the blank for
oh yeah.
whatever. So we've had a recent in the fall, they went through and did a sweep in the influencer program and banned a bunch of people who were doing stuff that was black hat. And so I would just make sure that the person you are looking at, that they're operating within terms of service too.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, whatever they've done for you will be temporary. Plus, you lose the
Right.
person you were working with, and all that time is going to be wasted. So, what I'm hearing from you is really a quick investigation of their storefront, looking at the material that
Yep.
they produced, will give you an idea. And the other thing, as mentioned earlier, it's reach out.
Yep.
Establish the relationship. So, which kind of is the next question I have is what is the best way to work with these influencers? Is
Mm.
it like completely unexpected to say, let's have regular review calls and let's look at what we've done and how the relationship is going and is it performing or not, or is it too much to ask?
That's probably a lot for this type of a relationship, depending on how many. I mean, if you have 5,000 SKUs on Amazon and you want to work with somebody to create content for every single one of them, then yeah, that's probably like you're going to bring them on payroll, right? Like
Yeah.
you're going to be paying them for a couple videos a week. You want to touch base, like that kind of thing. Yeah. But if you've got like 3 ASINs on Amazon and you're looking for UGC, you're probably going to have like one conversation, like real conversation, and the rest of it's going to be like, I mean, it could all be via email, honestly. Just make sure that your terms are agreed upon and that everybody's really clear. But the content outside of you making like a formulaic change or packaging changes or something like that is evergreen. So it's not something that you need like them to create weekly content. You want them to create one solid piece of content for you, maybe two if you're really stretching. But then it's just going to live there until Amazon says that it can't. So there's not, yeah.
So this is not a regular situation like them creating something once a month. That's not the case.
Nope. If you think about it as part of your brand registry perks, Like you create A+ content and it just sits there, right? It's evergreen. It's meant to optimize your listing. This is the same thing. You're optimizing your listing by filling that upper carousel with UGC, but you don't have to like refresh it, because people who come to your product listing, they're probably coming once, maybe a couple times, but um they're not like, oh, I already watched this video on this product listing, right? I need a new one.
So this is almost like a closer, somebody has come to your listing, they looked at it, and then they just go through those videos just by the sheer number of videos you may have. And they say, oh, this is pretty popular
Yep.
and probably buy it. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, this is very interesting. And UGC is definitely the buzzword and extremely valuable, mainly because it's authentic, right?
Yep.
It's authentic. Yes, these people are making money out of it, but at the end of the day, they are just giving their opinion, and
Yep.
it's somebody else out other than just you, the seller, talking about the product. That's always a
Yep.
good idea. Liz, there is another value here, and we actually had another guest. I don't remember now which one, but it was Zach Cohen. So they
Mm,
have this drink, and what he did was he this was to collect reviews, but his purpose in collecting reviews was not just getting reviews,
right.
but it was to get the reviewers'
Mm-hmm.
words
Mm,
and then blend it into his content. In other words, you're
yep.
using your customers' words to describe your product
I
rather
like
than
that.
you describe. So I think that is also another value you can get out of these videos,
Yep.
because you are seeing the different perspectives of what the person is focused on and things like that. And then you can factor that into your infographics and maybe revise some of your pictures and some of your bullets
Yep.
coming out of what the influencer perceived your product as.
Yep. That's a great idea. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, 21st century, there's all kinds.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's amazing.
yeah. So, great business conversation. So, always at the end of every episode, I like to say, okay, we've learned from you. Now let's learn about you a little bit. When I introduced you, I mentioned Jungle Scout, 6 years, chief of staff.
Yep.
So, first of all, that must have been a good job, no?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
Why did you leave?
Well, really it was just because I had started messing around in the Amazon influencer space and developed the software, which is not for sellers, it's for influencers. But I was doing onboarding in like at 7 o'clock in the morning at 10:30 at night, and I ended up going to Greg and just being like, I think that this is going to be more than a side hustle. Like, I think I need to go chase this.
So before Jungle Scout,
Mhm.
what did you do?
I was a seller on Amazon, and I worked in the event space.
Your own business.
Hmm.
So you were an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, usually I ask people, okay, so you had a nice job. Why did you jump into this entrepreneur world? You were already a native in that world. So
Yeah.
then why did you go work for Jungle Scout?
Well, it was a season where I had three little kids, and being a entrepreneur and being solo, a lot of times it's just kind of like it's so much mental energy and emotional energy. And I just needed a place where I could go and be passionate about it, but also have a paycheck attached to it. And so it was the best possible like way to step out for 6 years and have like something steady, and then be able to like transition back into running my own business.
So, okay, now my favorite subject, always entrepreneurship. So, um, when was the first time you realized that you had this entrepreneurial streak in you?
I think in high school. So I joined Future Business Leaders of America, right? And was really involved in that. And it kind of, everybody would be like, well, what do you want to do? It's like, well, I don't know. I want to go into business. And like over kind of those conversations, it kind of occurred to me, it's like, oh, I can't tell you like I want to go work in marketing because I don't want to go work in marketing. I want to go work for myself and I want to create business and create products and create, whatever the case is. And so it was in high school.
So what was the part that appealed to you about running your own business? Is it the independence,
Mm.
money, or the being able to create?
Yeah, I think it's changed over the years, right? So in the beginning, it's like the idea of you just love the idea of working for yourself, being able to make the calls, possibly hitting it big and, running a business that's like doing really well. I think over time you kind of like uh settle into what it really is as opposed to kind of like what you thought it would be. And I think it's one of those things where most of the, for me, I'm just gonna say for me, I won't say most, it's almost like something that you have to do, right? It's like an itch that you have to scratch, a drink that you have to drink. Like there's nothing else that fulfills your personality type the way that running a business or working for yourself. Like I could never sit at a desk and do the same thing every day, which is why Chief of Staff at Jungle Scout was great, right? It was a great interlude because my projects were never the same. I had a lot of autonomy over like what I was involved with, like all of those things. It's very similar, right? In the entrepreneur space, like if I want to get up today and market my business, I'm going to market the business. If I'm going to like go write the rest of the roadmap for the software, I'm going to go do that. Like you've got so much control, but you're also never doing the same thing, basically ever twice, right? And so that is just, it feels
Yeah.
like something I have to do.
Yeah, I was watching this show over the weekend. It's called The Offers. I highly recommend it. It's the
Okay.
story for entrepreneurs. It's a must.
Yeah.
You are going to love it. It's called The Offer. It's the story of how they made Godfather.
Oh, okay.
And did you know that it came this close to getting canceled so many times?
No.
They never wanted to have Al Pacino in it.
Oh,
They called him the little shrimp. That little shrimp was never getting this role. So, I mean, that's how it's so, and the producer was responsible to do it all. So, the point of the story is there is a scene, and the producer is like, just got bad news. There's mafia involved. I mean, this is
mm,
not serious stuff. It's not just,
yeah.
you know, movie making complications. It is mafia, people dying, getting
Yeah.
shot. So he's like doubting himself. He's all depressed. And then this woman, the casting director, she says, we do this because this is our life.
Hmm.
There is nothing else for us to do.
Yeah.
So we made our choice. We looked at that screen and we want to put something on that screen. And that's what we do.
Yeah.
So nothing else matters. So when you describe that, oh, it's never the same thing. Doesn't matter. It's a roller coaster ride. It's everything comes down, and you are the only one. So it's always the case. And so my question then is, what keeps you going? Because it's not
Mm.
always rosy, right? There's all
No.
kinds of trouble. So how do you keep it going? How do you keep your spirits up? What are some things that you can share that will get you moving forward?
Yeah. Um, so for me, it's the people. Um, just kind of like on all sides. I have three high schoolers, so on the family front, it gives me the flexibility to say, you know what, today I need to run over to the high school, plug in with this kid's activity, whatever that case is. So the people in my family, that side of it, but also the people that I get to talk to on a daily basis, right? Like, so this is literally part of my job. I just got to have the coolest conversation with you for an hour, talking about something that I'm passionate about, being able to share with sellers. But then also on the influencer side, like, well, sales calls with sellers, and then like on the influencer side, like helping them learn how to do product research, introducing them to the Amazon space, like content creators who have never worked in Amazon. Of course, those of us who have been in Amazon for a long time, we know that it's a roller coaster. But I get to help them and talk to them and hear about like what's going on in their world, what's working. And so it's just it gives me an opportunity to like really be plugged in with a ton of people in a ton of different spaces. And that's, on the days when I'm like, well, yesterday didn't go great, let's go, hit it again today. I'm like, I hope I have a bunch of calls on my calendar, because that's what lights me up.
Yeah, well, you must be an extrovert.
I am.
Well, Liz, so this is a great conversation. So obviously, this is what you do, in your company. Fluencer Fruit is it's all about organizing. So tell us, how can people reach you, share your contact information?
Absolutely. So if you go to the page fluencerfruit.com/legends, there will be information there about booking a call with me if you want to chat. I'll put my email address there so that if you just want to shoot me an email and ask me a couple questions, like feel free to do that, but that'll be the best place to find me.
Oh, that's very kind of you. It makes it easy. So fluencerfruit.com/legends. So
Yep.
we'll also put that on your episode page when it comes out. So
Perfect.
anybody who wants to reach, and I'm sure you are also on LinkedIn. So anybody who wants to reach out. Thank you, Liz. This was a great conversation. I definitely learned. You definitely changed my perspective in terms of looking at influencers on-site, off-site difference. It's a big deal, and I'm gonna keep an eye out for that API. I'm sure one day it will be out.
Your mouth to Amazon's ears.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Liz. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Before I go, a quick reminder to say goodbye to your cash flow problems and claim your extra $1,500 when you qualify for $25,000 or more in funding. Go to www.runviably.com/legends and start your application today. Thank you. And this brings us to the end of another episode.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the episode, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too.